Well, tonight the world is mourning the loss of one of the most influential people in history. The Reverend Billy Graham died at his North Carolina home this morning. He was 99. His body will lie in repose starting Monday at the Graham Library in Charlotte, North Carolina, and funeral services will be held Friday, March 2nd. Those services are for family and friends. Graham spread the gospel to hundreds of millions of people in person in nearly 200 countries. He was a pastor to the world and a pastor to presidents. And he paved the way for the media ministry of figures like Jerry Falwell and his old-time gospel hour. His son, Jonathan Falwell, is now pastor of the church his father started, Thomas Road Baptist Church. He joins us now from Lynchburg, Virginia. Great to have you with us, Jonathan.
Great to be with you, Shannon. Thanks so much.
You know, I often heard your father talk about the influence of Reverend Graham and things that he took from his ministry and the way that he operated in the world. What can you say about his influence?
Well, there's no question that the influence that Dr. Graham had is one that goes back for decades. But what's interesting is if you look back decades in the beginning of his ministry and then you look towards the end of his ministry, the one thing that you see over and over again is that the same message that he preached 80 years ago was the same message that he preached right up until the last time that he had the opportunity of sharing the gospel. And that was the message of God's love through his son, Jesus Christ, and what the gospel is all about. And so that kind of longevity, that kind of passion, and that kind of integrity is something that all pastors, myself included, have found great comfort, great encouragement, and great courage in, because it helps us to continue to do what we do and continue to take that message of hope, the gospel of Jesus Christ, to the world.
You know, I came across so many fantastic quotes from him today, passages from sermons and things he said over the years. One of the things he said was this: the greatest need in the world is the transformation of human nature. We need a new heart that will not have lust and greed and hate in it. We need a heart filled with love and peace and joy, and that is why Jesus came into the world. I mean, that sounds like the kind of message we could use in the times that we're living in, and he never watered it down. As you said, over 80 years, he didn't apologize for what he said. He was forthright, and he truly felt like he was giving humanity the gift they needed to make it through this life.
Well, that's what Dr. Graham understood. There's no question that he knew that the world needed hope. He knew that it needed hope then, and of course we know today that we still need hope. The problem is the culture, society looks for hope in lots of different things. They look for hope in money and power and fame and greed and all the kinds of things that that we are told by Hollywood and many in the media that that's what we need to try to attain if we're going to be somebody, if we're going to find joy and peace. But Dr. Graham knew that the only way to find peace was to find it in the love of God. The fact that God sent his son Jesus, who died on the cross, who rose again 3 days later so that we could have life and forgiveness and freedom. And so Dr. Graham knew that that was the message of hope. Now, Governor Huckabee was talking about that a few moments ago. Our culture today, you can see how when we take God out of the culture, there is a hopelessness that ends up in tragedy so often, like we've seen just in these past few days. The world needs hope. Dr. Graham knew that, and so he passionately preached it every opportunity that he had.
And he was so interesting because whether he was talking with a drug addict on his last legs or the Queen or presidents, I mean, he treated everybody with the same message and the same respect. I want to play something that former President George W. Bush had to say about the Reverend.
He helped change my life. He truly did. And I was a questioning person. I was drinking a lot. And religion was, you know, I put in the book, you know, I would listen but never hear. And Billy Graham helped me understand the redemptive power of a risen Lord.
And Jonathan, we heard praise from presidents from both sides of the aisle today talking about how much his counsel had meant to them over the years.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about the gospel. The gospel is not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not independent. The gospel is available to all, regardless of what your political persuasion is. You know, so often we look at every issue from the standpoint of which side of the aisle does it come from. And that's the beautiful thing. Dr. Graham understood that. He knew that whether he was talking to a Democrat or Republican, or whether he was talking to a president, or whether he was talking to a homeless person on the side of the street, that message was one that people need to hear. Everyone needs to hear. And so that's what makes him so influential, even in his death, and I believe in the generations to come. What he was able to accomplish and what he did will continue to speak into the lives of many for many years to come, because, again, that message is timeless.
Yeah, he was a man of such compassion and grace, and as you said, hope. Jonathan, thank you so much as we remember him tonight for joining us.
Thank you, and appreciate you, all that you do.